Coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene. I'm also starting to get the impression that John doesn't like me anymore. This is the second show in a row that he hasn't come. So I will just say tisk tisk this time, but next time I'm going to take it very, very personally. But tonight we are here with Wilkes-Barre doom metal band Gods of Space, who are playing a release show of their new album this Friday, January 25th, at Karl Hall with Gypsy-Valley Kings and Bloodeagle. So we're going to talk about the making of the album, their heavy stoner doom metal sound, mixed with psychedelia and space rock, seeing the local scene from different creative perspectives, much, much more. So please stay tuned for the full hour. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions for our guests here tonight, if you want to add anything to our discussion, you have any thoughts about what we're saying, please leave them down below. We would love to hear from you. Show's much more interesting, much more fun when you guys participate. So please stay tuned for the full hour and join in our conversation. But before we get to the interview, we have some beers to plug from Beer Boys in Wilkes-Barre. 72 beers on tap. They give us these lovely crowlers every week. And this time they gave us all SBC, which we love, Susquehanna Brewing Company, brewed right here in Pittston. Orange is the New Ale, Blueberry Thrill, and Raz the Roof. So which one would you guys like to start with?
Want to rock, paper, scissors? Raz the Roof or Blueberry?
I've never had the raspberry, so...
He's just already decided.
Raspberry.
It's raspberry it is. All right. We'll start with some Raz the Roof then. Crack these guys open.
So I didn't know they did crowlers there, so...
Yeah, they have their own machine and everything. It's kind of mesmerizing to watch.
I have an empty growler in my car, and I should stop over there after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
They do fill your growlers.
Man, that is really good.
Yeah, I get down with that.
That is good. Love SBC. Speaking of SBC, Beer Boys has a big event coming up. We told you about it last week, but it got canceled due to the snow, so they moved it to this Saturday. 19 beers for 19 years, held from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. this Saturday, January 19th, with 19 different beers from Susquehanna Brewing Company. So this is just a small fraction of what they're going to have, including some stuff that you can't get anywhere else. They're going to crack open a cherry shandy cask, so something that you can't get anywhere else. I don't even know if you can get that at the brewery right now. So they're going to have 19 different beers from Susquehanna Brewing that you can try all day and all night. DJ Kenton is also playing upstairs from 10 to 2, so there's plenty there. Never a cover for any of the entertainment that they do. And they have a half-price happy hour on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays from 9 to 11, and Fridays and Saturdays from 8 till midnight. So stop down and take advantage of the huge selection. So cheers to Beer Boys. Thank you.
Let's launch it.
It's like a wine almost. This is great.
It is. It is kind of has a wine taste to it. The other guys we want to plug tonight are the V-Spot, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania with live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Adam McKinley on Thursday, Better Than Bad playing rock anthems on Friday, Molly Pitcherpath with alternative rock from decades past and now this Saturday, and DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And if you missed the Howells Family Benefit that we did at the Kirby, you missed an amazing lineup, great show. We did stream it as well, so if you want to go back and watch the stream, it doesn't really kind of capture the energy in the room, but you can still check those out. The sound's really good. We do have another benefit show coming up this Sunday, January 27th, the Irish Wolf Pub in downtown Scranton with a completely different lineup. And free pizza. See, that's, I think, what's going to get people.
That's a steal.
You know, it's $10 at the door, which you're paying for all this entertainment, but you get the free pizza on top of it. I think that's the selling point.
You have to eat, like, 10 cuts of pizza in order to, like, almost make money.
Right.
Which anyone in the Valley can do. Like, come on, people.
Easily.
Come on.
Easily.
Like, you can do it. I believe in you. We believe in you.
Live performances from The Scripts, E57, Reach for the Sky, Threat Point, The Crowning, Traverse the Abyss, Will Row Hood, and Lauren Menorah. So please come to that. It benefits my parents who lost their home in a fire on Christmas Day. It's been kind of a struggle ever since, so we're trying to help them out in many different ways. We have a GoFundMe going and stuff as well. I've talked about it at length on previous podcasts, so I won't, bore you with all the details again. But please come. If you didn't make it to that one because you were afraid of snow that was coming the next day, I don't really understand that logic, but I think that kept a lot of people. You got to get their bread, milk, and eggs, and
took the words right out of my mouth.
Hang out and hunker down and watch Netflix and whatever. Bird Box is terrible, so don't waste your time. Come out to this instead this Sunday, January 27th. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Like 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought it was just too little of this, little of that. You know what I mean?
So I liked it, but I could do without the love story. It could have just been like her on the river.
Yeah.
Doing her thing.
Absolutely.
It's like, I don't need a love story in there.
Especially because they wrote that guy off real quick.
They did.
Like, he got almost no screen time at all.
He probably got like 20 minutes in like, what, a 2-hour movie?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, come on, man. Like, wasted that poor guy's time.
I think that the sign of the poor script writing on their part was that John Malkovich is supposed to be like the dick in there, who's always like telling people what to do and stuff, and you're supposed to hate him. He was literally right about everything. You go back and watch it again, you're like,
Voice
wait,
of reason. Movie.
Every time he says something, it's
don't
like, he's
open that door.
Right.
Don't go to this place. Don't do that. And
Let's
everyone's
stay
like,
in the
shut up, John
supermarket
Malkovich.
and get drunk.
Right.
It's like, yes, I'm staying here with him.
Exactly. Like, I mean, don't make the guy who's always right the bad guy, because it's not going to work for you. I don't understand that. But anyway, so let's talk about Gods of Space.
Yeah.
First, how did you guys get into music? Is this something that you've been doing since you were a kid, or is it something that you picked up more recently?
Yeah. Well, since we made eye contact, I'll go first. I started when I was like 12. I had a neighbor. He lived in a double block. I live over Miners Mill, so everything's real close. If you're over in that part of town, buy Keystone Ice. That's what we drink over there, because we're all poor drunks. Anyway. But I started, like, my friend, I went over, and my first favorite band was, like, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Mm.
I know, and it's, like, amazing that I have a leather jacket on now.
Yeah, you've turned into a bad boy.
I want it my way. But he had, like, an Black Ibanez electric guitar, and he played, like, Black Sabbath's Paranoid, and I'm like, oh, man, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
And so, like, he'd have girlfriends over, and he'd, like, shove me in the corner with his guitar. And it's like, okay, put some earbuds on and, like, learn how to play guitar. And that's how I got started. And then, like, with that same friend, like, across the street to my house, like, we just have parties and drink in my basement, when there's no adults home. And we'd play guitar and sing, and then started a band with some high school friends, and then eventually me and him met through Craigslist. And now turn over to Matt here.
Yeah, I've been playing since I was, like, 15, different bands here and there, like... I did kind of like an alternative rock band when I was in high school, and then kind of like an indie band. That's not really a good descriptor of what it was. I had a lot of different influences then.
I would say that was a noise band if you're talking.
No, I did play in another band too. Like I played in a noise free jazz experimental kind of band for a while. And then this was like the first time that I kind of set out that I wanted to do it. I wanted to put something together. I wanted to find the people.
I actually respond to his ad. I always say to people, like, it's more like Matt's band, even though it is our band.
Yeah.
It's always like it was his, like, I initiated this.
Right.
And I just kind of like, oh man, Craigslist, and there's a dude who's not going to murder me or steal my wallet in a Walmart parking lot.
We've met some interesting people over the years, because it's pretty much been Jake and I from the beginning. Like, we started hanging out. I had a few ideas kind of floating around, and we would bring people to jam, and it's Craigslist, or somebody that knows somebody,
someone who knows someone.
Sometimes they were kind of weird, but through the years we've had a lot of really good people that we've liked playing with, and it's kind of always been
like a revolving door.
Kind of, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
No one's ever left on bad terms, honestly, because...
life just has...
Yeah, it's always been life happening. Like, our first iteration, like, our bass player went to Penn
college,
State.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wanted to be like a nuclear engineer. It's like, good for you, dude. Like, if you're watching, like, please science this up.
Yeah.
And then our drummer, Matt, our first drummer, he moved to Florida with his girlfriend. Like, they have a life down there and all that, so that went on. And then Jared was our next drummer.
Yeah, and he was moving to California, and then I was moving to New Orleans at the same time, so the band kind of just dissolved at that point.
That was like, what, 2014?
15.
15, yeah. We started in like 12 for bring that back around to the timeline, which I'm terrible with. He'll correct the timeline the whole time. I'll be like, yeah, we started, I was just saying to like Alyssa and Sam earlier, the people behind the cameras, I was like, oh, we started in like 2014. He walked in like, no, 2012, you're always wrong. Always wrong with the timeline.
Yeah, like we played our first show like in 2014, but
we were like hashing
we were hanging out for a while and kind of like, oh, have you heard this? No, like, or, you know, showing each other different riffs and, you know, trying to get each other up to speed on our playing styles,
So did you guys take any of the experiences that you had in past bands and put them into this at all, or is this kind of a completely different project?
For me, it's my first real band still. Because, like, I had, like, you know, high school bands and just, like, playing in bars with, like, friends who are like, let's learn 20 songs and make $50 and drink for free.
Right.
So to me, this is just, like, the first, like, where it's, like, really, like, songwriting and thinking about it and, like, you know, doing the whole Facebook and advertising and all that nonsense you have to do.
Sure.
I've always kind of been like a sideman in other bands. Like I was helping someone else with their ideas. I did kind of take a lot of like just the things you learn from being in other bands, like what you like, what kind of like being in a relationship. Like, oh, I don't want to put up with that. Like,
right.
You know, like real quick, you want to like set boundaries when you're working with people and stuff. But I mean, influence-wise, like you're not going to hear it in the songs. But yeah, like I've taken like the free jazz influence and like just you know kind of that kind of jamming vibe. Even in terms of songwriting, like oh, we'll just jam on this until something comes out of it, you know. And,
right. Songwriting comes back to like Matt will come and be like, here's 4 bars of riff, and I'll be like oh, music theory because I know it a little bit better. Like we both have understanding, but I could be like, oh, circle of fifths and like this key's that key. So I'll wrap back around and be like, your riff is in this key, and then we can put this chords to it and this and that. And like track 4 on the record, Monument to Isolation, was basically that. He came in with like that dun dun but dun like the beginning. And I just like went to town. We wrote that song in like what 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes done.
We had like a practice. Our drummer couldn't make it, and I said, oh, we'll just hang out, you know. And I brought that riff, and like you said, in 30 minutes we were like, oh, okay, this is
Look,
done.
that's
We're
it.
just
That's the song.
need the drummer to tighten everything up, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I hear the name Gods of Space, and I'm thinking like you know, this is a big science fiction story, lots of lore behind it, or anything like that. Is that actually what's in the music, or is there something else completely?
That's how it started. So like that first EP we did, we'll collaborate on the lyrics. Matt will be like, I have this concept, and I'll be like, okay, I'll write it out, and then we'll like go back and forth and we'll tweak it. But the first like EP we did was like, it's kind of lame in hindsight.
Yeah, I mean it was like kind of.
I guess it's kitschy for what like the genre, because it's like, so it's like us. It's like planet Earth is doomed. We're gonna get off the planet and go to another planet. But like that's just like the whole thing of it. But then back to the name, it's kind of like a Lovecraft like mythos kind of deal in our heads, I guess. Where it's like you have overarching like gods of space.
Okay.
Who like just like they're like Greek gods. They just like to fuck with people, you know? It's like what all those gods used to do. It's like, I'm the god of fucking with you because you're doing this right now.
And you were right about it being like a science fiction kind of thing. It definitely plays a big part in our concept and the name. The name was kind of like
it came from that book.
Yeah, I had seen a book about like the ancient astronaut theory called Chariots of the Gods, and there was another one. I think it was called Space Gods Revealed or something like that. That's what it was.
And it was something like that, but that was gonna be our name with a question mark. And our bass player's like, get rid of that question mark, get rid of Revealed, because that looks dumb, and it was just Gods of Space. But that's where that came from. Not to cut you off, it just popped in my head.
Yeah.
So, does the sound come out of that then? Are you trying to recreate those ideas and those thoughts into a sound, or is it just kind of just work out that way?
Kind of. Sometimes it's...
Music always comes first, though.
Yeah, like Monument to Isolation, like Jake brought up earlier. That was me kind of thinking about science fiction where somebody's so far away from home, they're the only person, doing what they're doing. What's that like? And I tried to think about how it made, when I was living out of the area, how that made me feel. And so the music, when we, that was kind of the theme of the song, but we didn't really, the music doesn't really reflect, I don't, it's hard to say, it kind of comes out of whatever, I'll say, I guess what I'm trying to say is I will come to Jake with a concept and say, oh man, I was thinking about this idea for this song, or, oh, I saw this thing, or I had this thing kind of rolling around in my head a little bit. Mm-hmm. What could we do with this lyrically? And then sometimes we'll have a riff or an idea show up and oh, that's perfect for what we were talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't ever sit down really and be like, okay, we're going to write a song about crowlers. We never sit down and we're like, we're going to write a song about, I don't know, in our case, a star blowing up or something, because that's sci-fi and spacey.
Sure.
It just kind of I don't know, it comes. We don't overthink it, I think, is what I'm trying to get at.
I would listen to a song about a crowler, though.
Absolutely. That would be more for our, I think, for our friends Gypsy-Valley Kings. I think that's more their jam.
Okay.
I think you guys should get on that. Just from me to you. That's a free one. So I'll see you Friday. We'll talk about it.
So I'm aware of what doom metal is. I listen to a lot of that stuff. But for those who may be tuned in who have no idea, what does that even sound like? What is that? How would you describe that sound?
There you go. Go get one.
It's definitely, it started with Black Sabbath. The song Black Sabbath specifically. It's that very impending doom, uncertainty, really, heavy feeling.
Brooding is a word that comes to my mind, you're waiting. That's one thing I love about the genre, though. He'll show me songs, and I'll just be like, you wait for, even just, there's one song he showed me, I'm just waiting for the drummer to get off the kick drum, and just, hit both those crash cymbals, and just, for it to come back in. That's one thing I love about it.
I think it's a lot about that kind of vibe and that...
That's the thing. It's a lot of vibe, because it's nothing we're playing is technical. I could, if you play guitar, I could show you the whole record in, 2 hours and you can play it. It's nothing crazy. So it's kind of like a vibe thing, I guess, for us. And we just like to play low and loud with lots of fuzz. That's just us.
Well, a lot of doom metal too has kind of lower vocals and growls and stuff like that. The singer sounds like he's smoking 10 packs a day or whatever. But you guys kind of go higher, and it gives it sort of an epic feel. Like Dio comes to mind, that kind of stuff. So why did you choose to go in that direction with the vocals? That's
just how I've always sang.
Oh, yeah?
Honestly, on that record, there's some spots where I try to sing low, and I didn't develop it enough yet. Because, I took vocal lessons over, the last 2 years to actually, get, techniques and, learn how to ground down and stuff. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to that because I had to remember all the lyrics for Friday, because I'm terrible at that. And I'm not putting a sheet on the stage either, because that's just silly. But back to the question, it's just how I've always sang. I always just, had that high tenor thing, and it always came natural. From just Led Zeppelin and even Black Sabbath. One memory comes to mind, I was in the back of my car, my mother's car. I was 12, and she's like, oh, I love when Jacob sings Led Zeppelin, because I was prepubescent with a real high voice. But that's just how I've always sang. And I guess that comes back to the Dio, and I love Judas Priest. So Rob Halford is one where I'm that's what I want to sound like.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where that comes in.
I think it gives you guys a unique sound in that sense.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of people that I could think of that are singing in that kind of style in this genre. A lot of people, like you said, go for more low, guttural kind of.
Yeah, more metal.
Right. like like Corrosion and Conformity, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's there. I've just been listening to that album a lot lately. The last like year or so that's been out. So on the Bandcamp page for the new album, which by the way is called "Till Human Voices Wake Us," there's a line in the description, and it says, "Tales of mankind causing chaos, madness, and ruin unto themselves while losing touch with what makes us human." Could you expand upon that?
Yeah, so I mean, if I just grab the back of this and rattle off each song, like, so like the first track, "Beyond the Time Barrier," is just, that's based off a movie we saw of the same name. And we just kind of took the movie and worked it into a song. But the whole thing is like this guy goes to the future, he comes back, and he's like, stop with the nuclear bombs, you're gonna screw everything up. It's like a 50s movie, Cold War's at its height. Wrote a song about that. And you have Giants Despair, and it's kind of like, in our mind, it's like, you have people go into this planet, taking shit that doesn't belong to them, and killing a giant. We'll get back to these lyrics in a little bit and actually explain it. We're just trying to bang through these here.
Right.
And then Mind Hive is probably the most like grounded to earth one. It's just about like politics in the last couple of years, honestly. And then back to Monuments Isolation, or an initial example. That's kind of like the image from 2001, that monolith.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what inspired some of that. So there's some sci-fi there, but that's just about like feeling lost in space almost.
Yeah.
Assassin's Hand is literally us. We're like, let's write a song about what it's like if Han Solo was on the run. Helmet is just a song about, I think about it like space colonialism.
Okay.
It's like people going around and being like, we're going to take this planet over for resources. And the last track's a jam track that's just called Infinite Burn Ride to encapsulate the stoner genre thing that you have to tag onto sometimes. Same thing with Helmet. If you buy the record and download it, there's something in quotes there you're like, oh, I get it now.
Right. So do you want to kind of have certain themes running through each song that kind of pull it all together, or are you trying to tell different stories with each song?
Matt has said in the past it's kind of like one universe in our minds.
Okay.
And I think you'll explain it better. But
it's kind of more like an anthology.
Yeah,
like it's
that's
not
what I was looking for.
It's not the same.
It's not a
and
concept
ideas.
album, is what I think he's getting at. Where it's like Dark Side of the Moon, where like everything flows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's continue.
Yeah, it's
Keep cutting him off. Scumbag.
It's set within the same universe, the same ideas, but not involving the same characters or situations. I guess
Separate short stories. That's probably what I would go for.
Okay, that's cool. I do have we do have some comments. I want to jump into those and see what anybody. Popco says sorry. #dadlife.
Popco, Josh Turner said to bring you a Smirnoff Ice if it ice stormed, but it didn't ice storm. So salute.
Maya says love Gods of Space. That's cool.
Oh, they're nice.
Danielle compliments the way that you pick the beer. That's a classic too.
It's a good one. We like it. It does taste like it's whiny. It's the best way I could put it. It's very nice.
Danielle also says from basements to Craigslist sounds like the perfect band setup for a horror movie. That's true. We've been talking a lot about a sci-fi, but it sounds more like a.
We love like 50s movies, like that first track.
That kind of was another distinction too. When we started coming up with ideas, one of the big things was that a lot of doom metal is influenced by the horror genre.
Yeah,
that's true.
And as much as I like that, and I think it has a lot to dig from, I kind of was thinking, what else could there be? Right. And I kept thinking, like Aliens and the movie Aliens. It's a horror movie in space.
Totally,
like that kind of, like Event Horizon, like more science fiction horror, and then just science fiction in general as a theme to pull from. So
we love the book Dune. He gave me the book Dune, and I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it this week. I've been reading it for like a year and a half.
It's a long one.
It's a hard one, man. I got like to the halfway point. Like that's a lot of like what goes through my head recently. Just like that whole book is just like this long like trek to a goal.
Yeah.
And then the goal is just like, nope, you walked into a trap. And that's a lot of what it feels like playing like this kind of music sometimes. It's like long, expecting something, and then like it either happens or it changes.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I could see that. I guess they're remaking the movie now. I don't know how I feel about
I saw that. I don't know.
I like that director. I don't know. Dune is just famous for being such a hard movie to develop.
Right.
You know, David Lynch did it, and he basically wrote it off. He never wants to talk about it, or
Right.
Because he thinks it's terrible. It's kind of gained like a weird cult following, but
Right.
I don't know. I like that the other stuff that that director has done. Like he did a Rival, and
You did it right. That's a good movie.
I think so.
It's a good movie. I like that. I don't know directors. I know like 3 actors. I'm like, oh, I like that movie. And Matt will rattle off like, oh, it's this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, I like that movie. I like that one scene.
With that guy.
Yeah,
He's in those other movies.
with that guy. Even like
I have a terrible time about doing that. Like even my girlfriend will say like we'll be watching something like, oh yeah, that person also did this. And, okay.
It happens every week at band practice too. Like when we're done, we'll be like, let's sit down and listen to some music. And it's almost like we'll go. Matt will be like, check out these 3 records, and we'll be like, oh, check out 3 more records, and like we have like a list of like 9 records to check out by next week. And I'm just like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm gonna try it.
It starts at one place and it kind of goes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's listen to like Frank Zappa, and then Frank Zappa turns into like, let's listen to Can, and then Can turns into like 80s,
African,
yeah, like
African, like
80s
Afro-pop.
post-punk, and
Right.
you're like, how did we end up here?
Let's see. Chris says that SBC looks like my grandparents' wine. It kind of tastes that way too.
Kind of like homemade Italian wine.
I make wine. I was gonna bring Italian homemade wine, but I was like, I know you do the sponsored thing. We don't want to crash our cars on the square.
No, yeah, we don't want to. Well, and we'll sometimes we'll throw in some extra beers if the case may be. You guys are empty, so I'll pop open another one in a sec.
We're good.
Come on,
Tom says, how do you get that sick bass tone?
Yeah, how do you get that sick bass tone, man?
That is a combination of a couple things. A couple different fuzz pedals. Live, I play through it's a weird speaker cabinet. I've never seen one that looks like this. It has 9 8-inch speakers in it, and I think that is kind of where my tone comes from.
But it's also as tall as like a half stack. Like
yeah,
it is like the normal height.
It's more of the high end, so my bass ends up having like a little bit of a guitar tone to it.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know who asked that question.
Tom Wasluck.
Yeah.
You know.
He would know.
You know how it.
He's always, anytime he sees us, he's like, you gotta turn up, man. The bass isn't loud enough.
Well, once we got that 15.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got him like a 15-inch extension, and Tom was like, okay, now I can feel it. Which we just blew up a couple weeks ago. We blew the voice coil out on it. It's like a PV-15 that we blew it up. We had to order a new 15 for it.
Yeah, and we're not, like, intentionally loud, but we do get very loud.
It just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's back to, like, this genre thing where it's more like a wall of sound pushing your guts is, like, what's cool about it.
Right.
I was reading Brief History of Vice by Robert Evans. Does Behind the Bastards. Wow, that's kicking in. Behind the Bastards podcast, but there's this part in it where he's just talking about like how ancient people are getting high, this sort of Vices thing comes in. But he talks about music where it's just like, people in drum circles were just like doing that, and it kind of got him a little weird. I'm like, that makes sense, because like if you go to a show and it's just like so much like pushing at you, you feel different. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
There have been shows that I've been to that they've been so loud that you can feel it deeply. I'm sure
it's one of those like rattle your balls kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're going to be rearranged like on a molecular level. It's so you're vibrating so much.
My thing is like when the amps are behind us and I can feel like this part of my pant leg shaking, I'm like, okay, like this is good.
Yeah.
And then like it's so ass backwards. So I'm like, I hope your earplugs on stage because I don't want to be deaf. But then we're so loud sometimes where it's like, I gotta put another pair of earplugs over these earplugs. So it's like, if you're out there and we're too loud, like, tell us to dial it back, because we're not assholes. We're like, we're going to turn up more. Like, we want to not...
Or just buy earplugs.
Or buy earplugs, because I'm an advocate of earplugs. I'll give you 40 different brands. We're not gonna do that right now.
Russell Austin has been on the show before. So what's the best and worst shows you've played, speaking of shows, and why?
What would the worst one be, in your opinion? Let me go back in my mind while you go back in your mind.
I would say it's nothing that any of the other bands have done. It's just been one of those nights where no one shows up. But we've... it has also nothing to do with the venue, but we've played shows locally where it's been the bands and maybe one other person, and it's kind of tough because you're like, why did we come out? But that's just something that you have to get used to when you're playing any kind of music anywhere,
right?
But that's kind of few and far between. It's one of those things, though, where it's like, oh, well, all right, it's just a practice night. We'll just hang out and,
Yeah, I don't think we ever had, like, a show where, like, this is terrible, it's the worst, because we always just kind of, like, look at each other, shrug our shoulders, and we're like, well, we're just going to practice here and maybe get a couple free beers out of it. So that's how we look at it. I've never had a show, in my mind, where, like, this is a catastrophe.
Yeah. Like, oh, God, we're doomed.
The worst thing that's ever happened to me, though, is in Allentown. I was playing like a 60s Fender Bandmaster, and it wasn't grounded, and I went up to that microphone, and I got electrocuted so bad I saw stars, and I thought I was going to drop.
Wow.
Because, like, if my one hand wasn't on, like, the guitar, like, actually playing it, I wouldn't have got zapped, because I closed the circuit when I touched it.
Right.
I was just like, oh, like, I thought I was going to puke, I thought I was going to go down. I think I looked at you, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was one of those things. I think there was like a little bit of an off note, and kind of like, are you all right?
I was like, no, I just got zapped. So there's my worst moment.
Yeah, I mean,
that right there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were playing once I kicked the cable out of my pedal board. Like,
oh, that was terrible.
Right and I couldn't figure it out for 5 minutes, and thankfully Gooby from Earthmouth ran up and was like, did you check your pedal board? And like, I looked down and like, oh, thanks. Like,
it was like out just enough where, like, if that XLR didn't clip in, you're like, why isn't this mic working? You just had to, the littlest bit.
But as far as our best show, I mean, we've had a lot of good shows, played with a lot of cool people. We played a show in New York City at
that was fun.
Was it the Gramercy?
No, the Delancey in the Lower East Side.
We were invited to play there. A coworker of mine from a job I had a few years ago was putting together a birthday party for a friend of hers, and it was 3 floors of different music. There was rock, there was punk, there were like folk kind of people, and we started playing, and there weren't a lot of people in the room. And by the time we were done, I looked up and it was packed front to back, wall to wall. And just everybody was like, where are you guys from? And we'd say Wilkes-Barre, and they're like, where the hell's Wilkes-Barre?
We're like that
Right.
place between
The
your
Office?
city. Yeah, where the office is. Between New York and Philly, where all the people who can't make it selling drugs go. They're like, oh, Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah,
You got it. That was fun, though. And then the band that came on after us, they were like, they just lost like a glam metal band.
Okay.
And
Yeah, like
immediately-
80s hair metal, but without any of, they didn't commit to the look.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Steel Panther or something.
Right.
Like, it was like if the 3 of us dressed the way we are, went on stage and were playing like 80s glam rock.
And had that attitude as a frontman, where it's like, clap your hands. Why are you clapping your hands? But like they cleared the room just by their attitude, and then they were like, that band sucked because no one's here. So that was my favorite show because of that, where it's like, oh, don't be like that, man.
Yeah, I think with certain genres you do have to dress the part, whether you want to or
Especially
not.
in that genre.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you gotta get a wig or something if you're going for 80s.
Yeah,
right?
do the makeup.
Do it. Like, you gotta commit.
I'm not kind of into that at all, but if you commit, at least you're doing it, and it's interesting. Like, just to be like 4 or 5 guys off the street, in whatever kind of outfit, but having that attitude and that trying to play that sound, like, You need the look too.
Yeah.
Even if they do like the, Guns N' Roses look, like long hair and,
Right.
kind of grungy, kind
I saw a
of.
picture of them today, and I noticed Axl Rose had like a leopard vest on. I'm like, oh man, like you did that.
He's
You
starting
did
to
that.
look like somebody's grandmother. Like he,
Oh, he looks
my
so weird,
God.
doesn't he?
have you seen that photo of him and Mickey Rourke?
Yeah.
Like they
Look
both,
totally.
yeah, two like really badly tanned old ladies. Sorry, Mickey Rourke, if you're watching.
He might be watching.
Yeah,
Axel, we're not sorry.
Yeah.
But Mickey, we're sorry.
Sorry.
pull it together.
So, you guys are stoner metal, so should we be, like, smoking up right now? Or is that kind of...
We don't want to get raided.
Yeah, we don't
Right.
want your get flagged by Facebook.
Yeah, that's true, right?
We actually played a show with Black Pussy at Karl Hall, and they flagged my ad because it said Black Pussy.
Pussy on it, yeah.
And I was like, are you serious? I wrote this like long, elaborate, like, they're artists and that's their name and it's like the nomenclature of it or whatever. And they're like, okay. And they approved the ad. I'm like, you scumbags. Like, write something back.
And now they're not even called that. They're like
Black Magic Flower Power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody was just.
They were on them about their name. It's like, well, whatever. And like, do your thing. Anyway, diverting from that.
I do think it's tough because like you wanna stick to your guns and keep the name. It's a great name. It gets people's attention or whatever. But then you
Yeah.
run into stuff like that.
Yeah,
you run
like-
into issues like probably booking shows too, where they're like, I don't know if I want to
if
touch
you-
that or whatever.
If you're, if you're running into issues where like venues aren't booking you and people aren't coming into your shows because of it, like then you can like there have been other bands that have done it. I think there was like there was a band called like Viet Cong or something.
Yeah.
And they, or Andrew Jackson Jihad, like they
Yo, that's awesome.
they had to they're just AJJ now, like because people,
On the topic of terrible, awesome names, there is a band somewhere in Pennsylvania. I ran a live sound show called Tonewall Jackson. And I was like,
Oh, yes.
like that's the best band
I've
name
heard
ever.
that name, yeah.
Like, it's like, how, wow. Tonewall Jackson. I'm just picturing like Thin Lizzy kind of music and like stacks of Marshall amps that are like made of stone. That's what I was expecting.
Right. Maya asks, can you talk about your experience recording your first album and what that process was like?
Yeah. Well, our first album, I went to LCC for audio, and we just did it in their studio, which is, it's probably like, it was like double the size of this, but more like a warehouse.
it's a
Okay.
giant TV studio.
Yeah, it's a giant TV studio. It's like real tall ceilings and all that. Like 90% of people in the valley, you went to LCC, so you know what we're talking about. But it was a lot of just like go in. It was like my final project too. So it's just go in, set up the mics, play live. Matt was playing guitar at the time, so me and him mainly did overdubs, and we just kept like the skeleton tracks of our drummer and our bass player as like the bass line. But that was very just like going for it, not like going too nuts about it or like overthinking it, compared to like that record there where we like took our time and really like thought stuff out to an extent.
And had an idea too of we would send Eric, who mixed
yeah.
and mastered the album, like, hey, this is what we're listening to. This is kind of the tone we want, for these tracks. This is what we're aiming for. Okay, yeah, cool. We'll run with that, and
There was an awesome moment. We sent him the first Rage Against the Machine album and Sleep's Holy Mountain, and he like pulled out like the raw tracks. He's like, okay, like I got these kind of working, and he like put on Rage, and it was like sounded like there was a blanket over Rage Against the Machine, and then he put on Sleep, and it just sounded like it was like in a car down the street. We were like, okay, like
yeah.
good job on these roughs. Let's hear how it's gonna be done.
Okay.
But so I mixed that first record, like I did all the production on it. I don't think it came out good, honestly. It's real like, I don't know, it's just bad. I won't get into it, but it's just bad to my ears. It's just like so much is wrong with it.
It was fine for what it was, and
It's
for
more of a demo.
and for
Yeah.
doing it very quickly and for like a school project
For
and-
free too, like
Yeah.
you did it for free.
Yeah.
But
Well-
then when you took it and reworked it before I moved back to the area,
That's true.
When
I don't
we
even-
were like officially coming back, he re-released it and remixed it and
did all the vocals over.
And it sounds much better than it did. It used to be very quiet and
hollow,
muddy, kind of
metallic and hollow. Is what I would say. But it's not my best work, and wasn't too happy with it. But that's like, so when we did the new record, I was like, I gotta turn it over to someone else, because it's just like, I'm sure you're a creative person, like you do this. It's like you gotta just hand it to someone else, or you overthink it too much, and you have the tools to tweak it too much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost like having a shovel and a hole, and you just keep digging and putting dirt back in and pulling out till you have like a hole of mud.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And you gotta find your strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
And say, okay, like I'm not maybe necessarily the best on the technical end of things, like with this type of stuff. So Cole Creative handles that end of it, and they do a good job. And then I can kind of concentrate.
You do a great job. Doing an awesome job back there, Alyssa.
Yes.
Kicking butt.
So I can concentrate on doing the interviews. And
exactly.
That part of it.
It's the same exact thing. Because it's so much to do. It's so much to like think about. It's like you gotta write songs, you gotta go and record songs, and you have to produce the songs, you have to mix the songs, you have to edit the songs, and like that doesn't even fit on one hand, and that's hours and hours of just like...
And if we were to do that by ourselves, you would be doing a good chunk of the running around, because I don't know much about recording. I know it sounds good to a sense, but I don't know the technical side of recording and mastering, so... I'd be like, cool, where do you want me to put these mic stands?
And I'd be like, okay, put them there. And be like, no, it's wrong. And I'd end up doing it anyway. So it's just... So like that first record was very DIY. While that one, we went to Eric up at Side B, which actually closed, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that sucks, because there's a lot of good albums that come out of that studio. So that was disappointing. And
he was just super cool to work with. And
he was the best.
Very laid back, and, there were times, when you get in the studio, you're kind of like in your own head. There'd be times like we'd be trying to work on something, and he would just be like, "Hey, how about you guys like take a $5 or
like have a coffee, chill out."
Yeah, like let's come back to this. Like he had enough to be like, "Hey, I can see you guys are struggling. Like let's take our time and we'll come back to this. And if it doesn't work, we'll figure out a way to make it work." And everything ended up working, but. You work with some people and it's like they just keep trying to hammer it out. They don't think about like the personal aspect of it. Of like, I can see those guys are struggling a little. Like, let's just take a breather, come back. And usually when that happens, you come back and you're like, why were we even struggling with this in the first part?
Well, there was a point where we were trying to play the click tracks. And like maybe we practiced 4 times with just like the click track in our drummer's ears. We gave him the click, and I remember he pulled the headphones off and he threw them. He's like, I cannot do this to a click track. And Matt's like, yeah, like this just feels real weird. And like we all frustrated, and we just took a $5. He's like, take a $5 and let's come back and not do it to a click. And that was the whole record. I think we booked 8 hours, wasted 2 hours trying to do it like that, and banged out all the basic tracks in like 6. And then I sent him like just DI guitar parts. I sent them over with some like vocals I did at home. Which is another great thing about Eric. I was just like, hey, like, here's a sample of me singing, like, squash it, make sure there's no room artifacts. Here's the DI guitars, reamp them. I think he charged me like 1 hour total just to like throw those in.
Oh, wow.
Which was awesome on his part. But I guess those are the biggest differences, is we just kind of handed over to someone else and we were like, please do this.
Tom said, Viet Cong changed their name to Preoccupation.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Tim Husty says, Axel looks like Mama Fratelli from the Goonies.
Yes, that's who it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
You nailed it. And Chris says, thank you for your support of Keystone Ramp Works. Absolutely enjoy the powerful show. So that we've had them on the show as well.
Yeah,
that was a cool.
That's a cool little place.
That's a cool place, and I think it's going to get cooler because are they expanding or are they moving? I'm not sure.
I think they're moving. I'm not
that's what I heard, but I'm not on the up and up with that.
Yeah, well,
but speaking of that, that's where we met our current drummer Tyler, who couldn't make it tonight.
Okay.
But he was in a band called Biofeedback. They played before us. Our drummer on that record, Tommy, he left our band. He wanted to do some different stuff with life. He's actually in basic training now, so good for you. I think that's awesome. You should have told me. We could have went running. That would have been fun. We could have puked together. We could have beer runs. Probably not watching. Anyway. But that's where we met our current drummer, and he's great. He plays everything like on that record, note for note.
Nice.
Single kick, too, which I was just like, oh, it's a double kick. He's like, I don't need that other side, man. I'm like, yo, fuck you, man. That's awesome. But that was a great show, and I mean, that place is awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play there again.
We'd love to see some more out-of-the-box kind of places like that. You know,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're kind of cool, you know.
Man, we'll play in the corner of your bar. We'll play taped to the ceiling. We'll play on a couch.
Get us into space.
If you're watching SpaceX, who's the guy from SpaceX?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, if you're watching, get us into space. We're waiting on you. And Doritos, if you're watching, you know.
Even to play in one of those, like
an anti-gravity chamber?
Well, yeah, those big
trampolines.
airplanes that they go up and they do a series of, like, basically like a roller coaster, and they simulate, like, lack of gravity.
I definitely have a panic attack and vomit.
Yeah, probably. Well, it's called the Vomit Comet, so.
Yeah. I definitely drink like a fifth of whiskey, get on there, immediately panic and be like, I'm going to vomit all this whiskey up.
So I wanted to talk a couple minutes about some of the things that you guys have done, you know, outside of music that maybe are related to music as well. So you've worked at Karl Hall and done some of the audio and stuff there. Is it different as a musician coming into that and working there with the bands and that kind of thing?
So in a sense, I come in and there's a lot of like delegating and like stage managing that comes into like doing DIY shows. Like if we go into the Irish Wolf most of the time, like, oh, like, why don't you guys, like, stage your stuff here and, like, you know, set up here? And, like, I end up running the sound at these places most of the time anyway because someone will be like, I know you. And they're like, here's the PA head. But it's a lot of...
You know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a lot of, like, the stage managing.
Thank God Jake's here.
I mean, if you guys think I know what I'm doing, let me know in the comments below. But it's just a lot of, like, I think the stage managing carries over into the band stuff.
Okay.
And then, like, it's kind of cool, like, running sound down there every week, because I get to see a lot of great bands. But the only problem is I'm, like, usually so busy between, like, running sound and, like, getting people on and off stage. It's like I don't get to network with these people and be like, let's play shows and stuff like that. But it's so cool to, like, see everyone. Like, last week, had a great lineup. But Black Hole Heart, Steve from that band, he gets to be some shows running sound. But, like, man, like, those guys are awesome. And it's just... So, the whole bill was awesome last week. I forget everyone who was on it because I just have so many I do every week. But it's cool. It's real cool just to be like on the other side of that and just to make people sound good, which is like there's maybe 3 other venues in the area like that have good sound systems if you're lucky.
Right.
So it's cool to be part of like the good sound system team or something.
Yeah, I think you know that's one thing I always hear from people who go to shows at Karl Hall, like, oh, thank God the sound here is good, you know. Cause you go into
thanks,
like
people.
a small basement venue like that, you go in, you think, oh, this is gonna sound terrible, but it sounds great in there.
The hardest thing there is like so it's all concrete, square room. A lot of sound guys will boost like 2 kilohertz, is like where our voices sit. You actually have to dip it in that room because it's so like resonant. And sometimes it pings everywhere, but it's just so bright and it's like immediately feeding back, and it's just like everything sounds like it's up here.
It's kind of like at the arena because
it's exactly like that.
Oh, okay.
It's all concrete there, and you know that's the thing when you're building an arena like that. You have to consider like, well, this is mostly for the sport aspect of it.
Yeah, and you want to hear the guy yelling sports stuff. We're great with sports.
But yeah, like any time I've been there, it's always been like too like
echoey,
too pingy,
tinny.
You know?
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of it. It depends on where you're sitting too.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get a certain spot, it's like, okay, I think right here it sounds
now
good.
from
nowhere else. Yeah.
The floor is.
This is where I'm sitting from now on.
Yeah, it's very echoey and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you've also you've done some stuff for 97.9 as well.
Yeah, so I kind of like got my foot in the door there from like LCC with the audio engineering degree.
Okay.
And I think I worked there for 2 or 3 years. I did like remote tech stuff. I'm sure you know what that is. I just go out, I set up speakers, and I just kind of record stuff into a computer, edit it down. So that was kind of cool. But I got to work with like a couple cool bands like Red Sun Rising. I did a Break and Bend thing once. The Struts, which is my favorite. They were so cool. Coolest guys ever. Like we had like a studio about the size of this studio with like a stage in there, and like we just did acoustic shows. We'd record them, and like I got to mix it down. That was cool. So I moved on from that, and I started working on music around, and like that's just like I buy things, I sell things, and I sell people things, sell us stuff. There's a free one, Harry.
Now, was that the one that got hit by the tornado too?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! So I mean, you probably took the news. Anybody who worked at those places probably took it a little differently than everybody else did.
So we left that night, me and my two coworkers, and we went to Frog Pond, and we were like sitting there having drinks. We're like, tornado's gonna hit Tunkhannock. We all got home, and then like we have a group text for the store, and it's like, oh, we don't have jobs anymore. We were just kind of like, well, fuck.
I think I called you like, dude, was anyone working there?
Yeah, everyone called me like, are you alive? I'm like, I mean, I answered my phone. Like, I'm half in the bag.
What a crazy freak incident, you know?
Just like in that area too, and like
just that little spot.
Only 2 people in that whole like scenario got injured, I think, and it was at Panera, which is like that's awesome. Not that it got destroyed, but the only 2 people got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the outcome of that could have been
way worse.
Oh, definitely.
Especially like if you went the day after, before they closed it up, and you saw like Tovan and all that, it was just like straight in. It was destroyed. Like that would have killed people if they were in there. From like Panera to Tovan, just right down.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if that was like midday. You know, when you think of all the traffic up that way and everything, and everybody working, it would have been a
It's
disaster.
weird coming from like living in the South, where tornadoes are like a very prevalent thing.
It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, oh, okay, there's
I'm
another
coming
one.
home and it's safe.
To being like, oh, there's one in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was weird, man.
But Music Around is opening back up, I saw.
Yep. February 1st or 15th, there's another free one, Harry.
So you have a job again?
I'll have a job on February 1st or 15th. There's another free one.
So, and I also want to talk about 5-7 No photography as well. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
5-7 No.
Yeah, it was kind of a friend of mine actually said that once. We were talking about no wave punk in New York in the 70s, like DNA, Teenage Jesus and the Jerks, like bands like that. Like Sonic Youth kind of came out of, like they were after no wave, but they were influenced by it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like the 5-7 No." And I went, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna run with that." And that was kind of like how I started. Like, yeah, I'm not sticking to any norms, and went from there. And it's been 11 years I've been doing it.
Wow. And you do a variety of photography, you know, because I think immediately you think of the concert photography, but you also do other stuff as well.
Yeah, I did a little concert and live show stuff. I have kind of stopped doing that. There are people that do it far better than me, like Keith Perks and Ryan Mullaney, Alex Seeley. Those guys all do amazing work. I do a lot of portraits, landscape stuff, lifestyle. I've done like corporate photography, like product stuff.
Products and services that support this show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, just kind of a variety of different things and different genres, and you know, something that keeps me busy when I'm when I have the time to do it. You know.
Are those two different kind of creative brains, like the music brain and the photography brain? Are they kind of related in some form?
I think it all comes together, even on my end. But
sometimes I find like if I'm feeling more creative in one direction, the other kind of takes a back seat. If I'm feeling more creative in photography, I'm not thinking of new music as much. But I think they kind of go hand in hand. Like, I like shooting photos to a flow, you know, and music has the same kind of thing. You kind of have to find where that works and just keep working it and, you know, go through that flow.
Right.
And a lot of times it's working with other people, so it's also like feeding off of, you know, how are they feeling during, you know, a photo session, and, you know, it's the same thing. Like, you know, we've known each other long enough that I can tell generally how he's what he's thinking, or, you know, we kind of have an idea of when we want to stop something or change something in a song, and it's like that in, you know, photography, just being like, all right, we're good, we can move on with this, you know, we've got it, you know.
Okay. Did that affect the music photography that you did do? Are you thinking of it as a musician, or are you just kind of looking at it as a separate thing?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm photographing a show, I see, you know, for instance, a guitar player or a bassist. I know how I look while I'm playing the instrument, and how you know, how they look too, and how I'd want to present them in that moment. You know, you don't want to like capture somebody like singing that's like mid like intake of breath. And
I love those shots. I love the bad shots where it's like that face. Those are my favorite for me. But
yeah, I think like coming from a music background and photographing music, you kind of have an idea of like, oh, this will look good. And when I was living in New Orleans, I assisted a photographer. His name was Zach Smith. He was also a musician, a drummer, and he did a lot of like musician portraits. And I could see working with him like, oh yeah, this will look great. This will make them look good. He knew exactly like what type of background to have them in, whether it be. We shot in this really, really seedy bar in New Orleans called Snake and Jake's Christmas Lounge.
That's my bar.
Yeah,
my
and
franchise.
it's a very like, you don't want to touch anything because it's. But when you look at the photos, you're like, whoa, this looks great. Or, you know, he would take them out into the middle of a swamp and like, you know, we're gonna shoot here. Oh, okay, like this works because they're like a swampy kind of bluegrass band,
right?
You know, so he would like learning that aspect of like, you know, finding a good venue to photograph people in and make the environment work for you, not the other way around.
I think that like some of the best concert photographers too can take that picture that makes you kind of hear it. You know, like you can, in that moment, even if you don't know what the genre is or you've never heard this band before, you can almost hear it by looking at the picture. Yeah,
there have been photos that I've seen of a bunch of the guys I mentioned earlier that, you know, you like, oh, you could hear that guy screaming, or you could hear that guitar riff, you know, and that's the great thing about art in general, is it transports you. So
yeah, absolutely.
You know, you are there in that concert by that photo, even if you weren't there, you know, which I think is cool, you know.
Absolutely. You said those things are related for you as well in terms of creative brains and that sort of thing?
When it comes to like doing audio, I think I'm a little closer to music than like photography, obviously. But like, there's just like things like on a EQ. Like sometimes you sweep stuff and you hear things, and it's like, oh, that would be cool if like I use this effect on this song or something. Or like I hear a lot of other bands do things, and I'm like, that's cool. How do I do that without ripping you off blatantly?
Right.
Like, especially in our genre, that's hard. Like the doom genre.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
It's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, everybody's kind of like.
I think we do a good job. If we don't do a good job, let us know in the comments. But yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of like, I can't turn off the engineering brain or the music brain at the same time. A lot of it like overlaps.
Speaking of the comments, by the way, Maya says, I don't think Jacob knows what he's doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing. In fact, if you want to come to Karl Hall this Friday and run sound for me, my God, come. I have no idea what I'm doing. AJ Jump, if you're watching, you should just fire me now.
And Jerry says, hi, Jacob. Thanks for letting my guys use your place for practice. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Gerald. You're welcome.
Been a while. We had them on the show before, too.
Yeah. See, I'm an enabler of that band. I let them practice in my basement. Like, you guys, you're cool. It's like, you guys won't steal anything, you won't break anything, you're all great. You can practice here. That's cool.
Stay Loud, by the way. Mm-hmm. That's the band which we're talking about.
Which is actually how we found Eric for our studio. They were like, oh, we're doing this here, and I listened to their like demo. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, I want to go there. So, worlds connecting there, which is cool.
Absolutely. This is what it's all about.
Yep.
Jeffrey says doom genre, hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jeffrey, hell yeah. Prost.
Come and hang.
Matt Yuskavich says, who's playing drums this weekend?
Tyler Lepkowski. He is the permanent drummer as of now. This moment right now. Tyler, you're in the band right now. Not 4 weeks ago.
You heard it here first.
No, he's been 2 months maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, he learned all of our songs like note for note on the drums. Just note for note on drums. I'm not a drummer.
Beat for beat.
Beat for beat. Tit for tat. But yeah, Tyler Lepkowski. Awesome.
So what do you guys have planned for this record release show? Are you doing anything differently than you would normally do for this particular show?
Just playing some old songs. That's about it.
Yeah, there's one or two older songs that we're gonna play too, and
Cover song.
a cover
Throw in a
song.
cool cover guy.
We won't tell you.
You have to come and find out.
Yeah. Just have the record there for everybody to purchase if they'd like. Not really doing anything different. Just want to have a good show.
Yeah, not going nuts. Just hanging out.
Speaking of cover songs, Danielle asks if you guys could cover any Judas Priest song, which one would you cover and why?
I mean, if I'd have to sing and play it, probably Grinder from British Steel.
Oh,
That's
nice.
a good tune.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Are you versed enough on Priest?
I'll be
Answer that
honest,
question?
I'm not.
You're not?
Priest and Iron Maiden, I have just started to dabble in.
If you had to pick an 80s new wave British heavy metal song for us to cover, what would it be then?
I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't know. That's like a genre of metal that I haven't, which is weird because I know
Yeah.
other genres of metal, but like British new wave of British heavy metal, I just never got into.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just learned something today about Matt.
Like I know, the hits.
You know the hits, but like that's kind of like that comes back to the singing thing. That's kind of where like my voice came from. Like that whole scene, I loved it when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Such a throwback. I'm like a fucking 40-year-old, 50-year-old, and 20-year-old body. But yeah, I answered that question next.
So you're playing the show at Gypsy-Valley Kings and Bloodeagle. I think that sound-wise that all makes kind of sense together.
Yeah, because so Gypsy-Valley Kings reached out to us and they're like, "Yo," because we put it up without any acts on it to see who would get to us.
Okay.
And they got to us first, and we're like, "Awesome."
And we played with them a few times, and
They're awesome.
we like them, and they're good dudes, and
They can hang.
yeah, we were kind of looking around we had some other people in mind too, and
They just couldn't make it.
I happened to see someone or something be posted about Bloodeagle, and I thought, like, man, we should reach out to these guys. We haven't played a show with these guys before, and
Yeah.
and they were happy that we're playing at Karl Hall because they haven't played at Karl Hall before. So
That's the other thing. Both those
definitely.
bands haven't played there yet, so that's gonna be their first time there, which is cool.
Nice.
But yeah, like you said, how it works like on a bill. We figured like we're gonna put Bloodeagle on first because kind of like punch your gut, speed metal, I guess.
thrashier,
Trashier, And then Gypsy Valley Kings is just like good old crowler rock. Write that song, boys. Write that song.
There you go.
That logo, the crowler logo, reminds me of their logo. That's why it keeps coming to my mind. But they're like kind of laid back, and then like we're kind of laid back, but then like just louder and heavier, So to us, it's kind of like start it out, bring it down, and kind of like bring it up in the middle at the end of the night.
So that is Friday, January 25th at 8 p.m.?
Yeah, doors are at 7:30. It's $10 if you want to bring your own beer, maybe from a crowler at Beer
Yes.
Boys.
You can go right down the road
Right
here.
down the road to Beer Boys, and it'll cost you $5 to bring in as much booze as you want. As many crowlers as you can carry. But if you want to drop one, I'll pick it up. That's fine. I'll drink it off the floor if you pay me. Let's not go.
And it's all ages.
It is. It's all ages, too, which is cool. We'll X your hands out, though, if you're under 21, because we don't play the games there. Don't play your games, kids.
Travis, I think it's Travis from Toothless. Is there going to be a piñata at the release?
If you bring a piñata, Travis, We will smash it with our guitars at the end of the night.
Man, I'll be trying to do it like while I'm playing. It'll be like distracting.
We'll do it while we're trying to play. But if we do that, we're going to make mistakes. I guarantee
Can you
it.
fill one with alcohol? Does that work?
You could maybe those little bottles.
The minis.
Yeah.
The little mini bottles.
Travis,
As long as they're plastic. So
Yes,
you can
yes,
smash all
plastic.
of them.
Travis, if we go to the liquor store tomorrow and fill a piñata with mini booze, we'll do it. It's on.
Nice. Might get a little pricey, but
We have to
I
watch
think
with
it'd be
that,
worth
though,
it.
with the all ages kids. I don't think we can do it with booze, Travis. I'm sorry. We'll do it with sweet chili cheese Doritos.
Oh, there you go. Designate a piñata area that you can do that.
That's what we should. We should do a booze one for adults, and then do one for on each side of the stage. Cut,
There you go.
Cut the room in half, and then try to make them do a wall of death, which is totally our genre.
Now this show's getting interesting.
The show's getting interesting. People are gonna come and be like, "This sucks. I saw this podcast, and you guys didn't do anything you said."
They just played music.
There
at
were
a
no
show.
booze pinatas?
They played music, and they looked very like drab on stage. And the guy's like, "This is a song. I'm gonna drink a beer."
Not one for the stage banter.
I love doing it actually. Like as long as like so my thing is like when there's more people in the room, like you can ping off of them. Mm-hmm. And like there was a couple of shows we played where I was dead, and there's always like that one loaded guy who's like, "Play Pink Floyd or something I want to hear," because they're so drunk. And I was like, it's like this next song was written by Roger Waters in like 1982. It's called One of Our Songs, and he was like, "Yeah!" Like didn't even know, didn't know. That was at Irish Wolf. That was one. That's another one of my favorite moments. That just came back.
That seems like a moment that would happen at the Irish.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So many good ones there.
Which, please come this Sunday as well. We have a great show lined up for Sunday.
If Steve
at the
can't get
Irish
someone,
Wolf.
I'll be running sound for you. He's trying to get me to do that, but I'm like, I might go see a show, man. So maybe we'll see each other again.
Okay, sounds good. So Gods of Space record release show this Friday, January 25th at 8 p.m. with Gypsy-Valley Kings and Bloodeagle, Karl Hall in Wilkes-Barre. And make sure you pick up the album as well. Where is the album available?
It'll be at the show. Actually, at the Stop at Gallery of Sound and Musical Energy. If you type our name in or you go to the Facebook page, you could just download it for $3 less because you pay $3 more for a CD. So you can download it, or you can stream it on Spotify, Amazon, anything that DistroKid put it on. So type it into your favorite streaming service.
It's on YouTube,
Yeah, it's on
Spotify.
It's on YouTube, Spotify, Pornhub. I'm pretty sure it's on Pornhub.
That's the out-of-box way to go with those things.
Hey, man.
You gotta get it out there. Every platform that'll let it.
YouTube took a lot of like gun videos off. So then Pornhub was like, "We'll put them up. Go ahead." I mean, hey,
You go, Pornhub. You go.
Yeah.
You want to sponsor us?
I mean,
give
they
us a
show
call.
everything else. Might as well.
yeah.
Maybe we should start putting the podcast up there too. YouTube buries us. Nobody watches this on YouTube. Like everybody watches this on Facebook, and then I'll replay the show in a couple of days on Facebook, and people will watch that on YouTube. It's like we barely have an audience on there.
I think if you were to put it up there, you'd have to change the couch out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to get the black leather couch.
we have made a few casting couch jokes on the show for sure.
Well, Pornhub, get on it. We're waiting. We're here for whatever my not watch says here.
We'll put your little logo up here,
Right up
whatever
here.
you guys want.
Anything. We'll do it.
Anything else we want to say before we go?
No, just hope we see you guys at the show Friday,
Yeah.
and
Come hang-
thanks for having us.
Hang
It's
out.
been a great time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Happy to have you guys. Happy to support local music. Make sure you go out and support local music. I will not rant about it yet again on another show. I've already done that on many past shows, but please go out and actually support local music. Go listen to it. Go buy it if you can't make it out. But just because it's January, just because it's cold out, doesn't mean that you can't go see a show. It's a
That's
good
all
way
the
to
more
warm up.
reason.
It's all the more reason. It's actually going to be warm this weekend based on the weather I read, so you have no excuse.
Yes.
No excuses.
Even if there's a threat of a snowstorm, that doesn't mean there is an actual
Listen, we'll have
snowstorm.
cots, bread, milk, and eggs, beer, tacos, piñatas.
Jake will sing you to sleep.
I'll sing you to sleep. I'll cuddle you to sleep. We'll go on porn. All right. That's enough. That's enough of the jokes.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. We will see you here next Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. The next couple shows, we've done so many musicians right in a row. We're going to take a break from that and do something a little different next week and the week after that. So I hope you'll tune in. We'll announce those soon. But thank you so much for sticking around tonight for the hour. You guys have been great in the comments. We always love that. We'll see you here next Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Thank you.